Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video, how about we revisit a list I covered a couple of years back? Because there's been a lot of changes. The FBI's 10 most wanted is the list of criminals in North America, and it's not really a list you kind of want to be on. I guess it's up to you. Today, let's take a look at those 10 most wanted, what they did to get on the list, and also what happened to those that were on the list, but ain't anymore. To make the list, the person's name is submitted and vetted by the FBI's 56 field offices. Then they look at two criteria. Does this person pose a threat to society, and will publicizing what they've done help lead to their arrest? If you get a double ding like these 10 folk did, congrats! You made it! Please subscribe if you want to see new videos every week. Now, let's give it a go. Alright, so first up we have Donald Eugene Fields II. Donnie is one of them Kentucky fellas, and he's 59 years of age, and guess what? He's currently doing a legger. But before, he worked in Missouri as a tree trimmer, a resale store owner, and an independent used car salesman. And in his spare time, he diddled kids. See, it's been alleged that between 2013 and 2017, Donald, over here, and a friend of his named Ted Sartori, operated this, child sex ring in Missouri. It seems that this Ted gave money, motorbikes, and all sorts of presents to Donald in order to access a child. Don't know if the kid was Donald's or whatever, the child's identity hasn't been released for obvious reasons, but the two of them operated this evil shit for about 4 years. That was until someone went to the police to report all of this in early 2022. Perhaps the child did when they were old enough, and so Donald and Ted were both indicted on 1 count of child sex trafficking each. And that was the moment Donald said, "I'll see you later." Ted, however, was arrested and he pleaded not guilty to the charge. A warrant was issued for Donald Fields. His home was empty, and in March 2022 he failed to show up to a court hearing. In May 2023 he was added to the FBI's most wanted. He was last known to be in Franklin County, Missouri, but he has family in Kentucky too, and frequented Florida a lot also. He was also known to be a fiend for the El Casinos. He enjoyed craps, and it's also believed he may be on the run with his partner, Jennifer Isgriggs, who in turn is also wanted for failure to pay child support. Real couple of winners we got here. So if you see that mustache, or a guy with a cool tribal tattoo like this one, call the FBI, as there is a reward of up to $250,000 for information leading to his arrest. Next on the list is a man wanted for some of the old Colombian dandruff. Literally, he is a Colombian drug lord. His name is Wilver VILLEGAS-PALOMINO, also known as Carlos el Puerco, Carlos the Pig, and he is the leader of the National Liberation Army in Colombia, a guerrilla group and terrorist organization that is currently at war with the Colombian government. They've been at it since 1964, if you can believe that, which is either it's going really well for the guerrilla group and not good for the government, or well for, it's not going good for anybody. So to fund this conflict, they sell a lot of cocaine. And so Wilver, being the leading, or at least a high-ranking member, he made the cut. The Houston office put him there, and he is wanted for narco-terrorism, international drugs distribution, and is allegedly responsible for numerous kidnappings and assassinations. According to one FBI special agent, his drug labs in the Colombian jungles are responsible for up to 80% of the cocaine entering the United States. That's a lot of skiing. There is a reward of $5 million for information leading to his arrest. And of course, it probably kind of goes without saying, the reason the bounty is so high is because you will not live long enough to spend even a quarter of that. From Colombia now to Haiti to talk about one Vitel Innocent, which is a very funny name. It's not so funny, however, what he's allegedly done. Currently, $2 million is being offered for info leading to his arrest. And the reason for that large amount of money is because you do not want to mess around with Vitel or his gang. Crazy Barry. I'm sure it sounds exactly like I pronounced it. Now, there are a lot of gangs in Haiti. The UN estimates that the capital, Port-au-Prince, about 60% of the city is controlled. 60% to 80% of the city is controlled by gangs. So, count that into your itinerary if you're planning on visiting, because a lot of people don't, it turns out. But Crazy Barry, which is a rough translation of breaking barriers, controls the central part of the city, and they have become notorious in recent times for murdering cops and burning down police stations. And also kidnapping Americans specifically. In 2021, Vitel's gang, along with another gang, kidnapped 17 American Christian missionaries, demanding a ransom for each and every one. Then, in 2022, they broke into the house of Jean and Marie Odette Franklin, with plans to kidnap them. During the kidnapping, Marie was shot dead, and Jean was held for 3 weeks until a ransom was paid for him. They initially demanded a ransom of $8,000, before going up a little bit to $150,000, before then agreeing to an unspecified lower sum, which is like... Vitel is still believed to be in Haiti, but has ties to other Caribbean countries too, and yeah, good luck getting to him. Now, Alejandro Rosales Castillo is still on the list from when I covered this story, years ago. He's been on the list since 2017. The 25-year-old from Arizona is accused of murdering his ex-girlfriend, Sandy Lee. At some point, the Castillo family upped sticks from Arizona to North Carolina, and that's when, in the year 2016, 17-year-old Alejandro met 23-year-old Sandy. See, Alejandro and Sandy, they both worked at this restaurant in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they dated for a bit, they hit it off, but things didn't last very long and they split up. But during that relationship, Sandy loaned Alejandro a bit of kibosh, and so one day, she, it's like... Now, Alejandro quickly moved on to another woman, 19-year-old Amia Feaster. They got together, but Sandy kept asking, "Can I have my money back?" It was on August 9th, 2016 that Alejandro said, "Fine, alright, I'll get your money right here." He didn't. Alejandro and Amia picked up Sandy in Amia's red Dodge, and then Sandy disappeared. Shortly after, $1,000 was taken out of Sandy's bank account. It's believed Sandy was forced at gunpoint.
Police have been looking for Sandy Lee and two of her co-workers after they suddenly disappeared. Now tonight, the investigation taking a grim turn.
The question remains, where are Lee's co-workers, Alex Castillo and Amia Feaster? Police believe the pair could be in Mexico.
And we're still working through the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They're still working on that end with us.
So many questions still remain tonight as loved ones hope for more answers.
It was over a week later that Sandy's body was found out in the woods, out of the city. She had been shot in the back of the head. Police immediately looked for Alejandro and Amia, but they were nowhere to be found. CCTV footage would show both Alejandro and Amia entering Mexico on August 16th, a week after Sandy was murdered and the day before her body was found. It was 2 months later, however, that Amia turned herself in to Mexican authorities, and she was extradited back to America, and she's still facing charges related to the murder today. But she said that at one point while in Mexico, she just woke up one day and Alejandro was gone. Which it probably was like what led her to turning herself in, because Alejandro would have had links to Mexico. Amia probably not so much, so she would have been there alone in Mexico and just been like, well, screw me then, I guess. He's likely still hiding out somewhere in Mexico. It's believed probably in the Aguascalientes region, but who knows? Alexis Flores is another fella still on the list from last time, still on the list since 2007. The Honduran native is wanted in connection with the rape and murder of a 5-year-old girl in Philadelphia back in the year 2000. Back in the year 2000 in Philadelphia, there was this guy named Carlos, a wandering drifter, and some locals in the city, they took pity on him. They're like, oh man, yeah, we can see you're down on your luck. We'll give you a place to stay. We'll give you a job as a handyman. Very nice thing to do. Not long after, however, a 5-year-old girl named Iriana de Jesus went missing. She had been abducted from her neighborhood. 5 days later, her body was found in an apartment building just around the corner from where she had vanished. She had been strangled, sexually assaulted, and left in a trash bag. This was the same apartment building this Carlos had been living in, and now he too had vanished. The last time Iriana was seen was walking hand in hand with a guy who looked suspiciously like this Carlos, and where her body was found, right next to it was a t-shirt Carlos was seen wearing. But no one knew where he was, and so an arrest warrant was put out for Carlos Doe. 4 years later in Arizona, the police knocked on a man's door due to a noise complaint. He seemed like a nice guy, but when the cops asked for ID, he gave them forged documents, which is serious shit. He was arrested for that and charged with a felony. Inside there was pornos all over the Flores, and also the floor too. This was Alexis Flores, and his DNA was added to the database. And after serving time in prison for the felony charge of the forged documents, 60 days, he was deported back to his homeland of Honduras. However, after he was deported, his DNA was flagged in the system as matching that of DNA found on the body of 5-year-old Iriana de Jesus. But Alexis was gone, and to date no one knows where to. Either he is back in Honduras or snuck back into the United States. There is currently a reward of $250,000 for him. Rja Ignatova is up next, the only woman on the list. Well, look at you. Rja is 43 years of age, from Bulgaria, and known affectionately as the Crypto Queen. Of course, an industry known for having absolutely zero scams. Rja is an interesting liar, in that nothing about her is kind of known to be true. She moved to Germany as a child, claims to have a degree from Oxford, yet there is no proof of this. It seems she does have a PhD in law from a German university, and she was later convicted of fraud regarding a business acquisition. Basically, you could not trust her as far as you could throw her. And so then, in the 2010s, when crypto was taken off, crypto scams? Rja? She was licking her chops. It started out when she got involved with a Hong Kong cryptocurrency called Bitcoin, a Ponzi scheme which didn't scheme hard enough. It collapsed almost immediately. She then got involved with OneCoin. Her company owned it.
Hello, this is Dr. Rja Ignatova. I'm very pleased to see you. I'm now in the new OneCoin office, and it has been exciting weeks since the last time I saw you. Please join me all in the global event. We have very good news for all OneCoin members, for all OneCoin users, and for all of you. It will be a very interesting and inspiring event.
If you can believe it, it was another Ponzi scheme. Shocker, I know. Only this one worked to the tune of $4 billion. Billion with a B. $4 billion worldwide. It's gone down as one of the biggest scams in history. If there's not a Netflix documentary about this story, there will be very soon. I cannot be in it.
I think that OneCoin has the most users over all geographies and is actually a very successful concept. Because OneCoin targets the usability of cryptocurrency, while Bitcoin is used more as an investment. So OneCoin's strategy always was to create a cryptocurrency for the people. People like you and me, who do not have a lot of IT knowledge, who do not want to make huge investments in hardware to mine coins, but who want to participate in innovation and who want to be part of something new and exciting.
That's a lot of words for bullshit. But ultimately, more than 3.5 million people around the globe invested in OneCoin, a fake cryptocurrency, a Ponzi scheme. Rja and her cronies promoted OneCoin as the next big thing, the next Bitcoin. And so, you better get in early. They lied about its value. They knew this was a scam from day one. It launched in 2014, and pretty much from the beginning, governments and media outlets were calling it out for what it was, a scam. But people still invested. Only a tiny fraction of that money has ever been recovered. And up to 100 people have been arrested in connection with this scam. Big dogs, big fish, Rja's most trusted advisors and her closest associates, but the big one, Rja, she escaped. She hasn't been seen since 2017. 13 days after a warrant was issued for her arrest in the US, she fell off the face of the earth. A reward of $250,000 is offered for her arrest. She was last known to be in Athens, Greece, and she may have changed her appearance. But many also think she might be dead as a result of this scam. It's been rumored that this Bulgarian drug lord named Taki was involved in this OneCoin scam with Rja. See, OneCoin was operated out of Sofia, the capital of Bulgaria, and Taki was like the biggest drug gangster in the country. See, Taki, as a gangster with a lot of influence in the country, could, push cops away, government officials, clear the way for OneCoin to operate without being, anybody looking into it too hard. And well, in 2018, when the entire thing began to collapse, it's rumoured he had her taken out on a yacht in the Ionian Sea. She was last seen in Greece, and figuring out the money he had tied up in OneCoin was likely gone for good now that the US government was seizing assets, he had her chopped up and dumped in the drink. Arnaldo Jimenez is another fella from the list back when I covered this. He was last seen in Burbank, Illinois in 2012. He allegedly murdered his wife the night of the wedding and fled the country. In 2012, Arnaldo Jimenez was living with his girl, Estrella Carrera, and they suddenly decided, let's get married. And it was on the fly, friends only told last minute. And after the wedding, they had a big dinner and they hit the clubs. They were seen leaving together that night in Arnaldo's car. However, Estrella was a no-show the next day when she was due to pick up her children, and a welfare check would find her body in the bathtub, stabbed to death. She was still wearing her wedding dress. Arnaldo was nowhere to be found. His phone was tracked driving from Illinois to Mexico, then disappearing. His brother was later arrested for drugs charges, and Arnaldo's car was found in his garage. Inside Arnaldo's car was blood. So what's believed to have happened is that, after they left the club, they were driving back to their place and they got into some kind of fight. Arnaldo lost it, pulled out a knife, stabbed his brand new wife to death in the back of the car, drove home, dragged her body out, left her in the bathtub, and then he said adios. He still remains at large. Omar Alexander Cardenas is another lad who is on this FBI's most wanted list, a suspected member of the Pierce Street gang in the Pacoima area of LA. Omar, aka Dollar, is 28, and it's alleged he shot a man dead outside a discount store in Sylmar, Los Angeles. 46-year-old Jabali Dumas Sr., he was hanging outside a store when he was shot 9 times. It's believed by Omar. Witnesses and CCTV quickly determined it. Why was Jabali killed? Well, he made an honest living. He worked for a trash company, right? Had a regular job, but in a previous life, it's believed he ran his own gang in the area, a gang that was a rival to Omar's gang. And so he'd given up that life. He'd gone, got a regular job, was, good family guy, but his past caught up with him. Or at least Omar did. It's unknown where Omar is today. It's believed hiding in Southern California somewhere, or else he fled to Mexico. Badash Kumar Chetanbhi Patel. I'm sure I pronounced that just as bad the previous time I made this video. Badash Kumar. I'm just going to call him Bad Boy. It's much easier. Bad Boy, as I referred to him last time. He's still on the list. Fair play to you. Badash Kumar is from India and was working at a Dunkin' in Hanover, Maryland. Himself and his wife, Palak Patel, were closing up the store on April 12, 2015, when it's believed he murdered her in the back of the store. CCTV showed them together in the kitchen before disappearing from view. He comes back, but his wife doesn't. Badash Kumar then swiftly left the store, and Palak was found beaten and stabbed to death. It's understood he was last seen at Newark Penn Station, New Jersey, the morning after the murder, and that's when authorities lost him. He vanished somewhere in the New Jersey-New York area. It's believed that he killed her because she wanted to return home to India. Bad Boy wanted to stay in America, and so she had to go, and then he went. Divorce just is cheaper than murder because life is priceless, so think about that next time. And finally, Yulan Adonai Archaga Carias, a Honduran and suspected leader of the MS-13 gang in Honduras. I don't really know much, about gangs. It's not really kind of my thing, but I definitely am kind of familiar with MS-13 because of, they quite like broadcasting the old head chopping off videos. They're definitely auteurs of it's one of the most notorious gangs in America, and so Yulan, big fish. He was arrested initially in Honduras for money laundering, but his gang pretty easily busted him out. He is wanted for drugs and weapons distribution to the gangs in the United States, and there is a $5 million award for information leading to an arrest. But again, good luck, if you claim that reward, good luck getting to spend a penny of it, because the whole gang thing. So that is the current FBI's 10 most wanted. But, I gotta give an honorable mention, right, to a guy who, since I covered this list previously, he had gone on it, and then he had been taken off it. That goes to Michael James Pratt, a Kiwi who founded a website, Girls Do Porn. Parentheses, unwillingly. Website ran from 2009 to 2020, and this story is probably actually the most sickening out of everybody's. See, women who would respond to modeling ads on Craigslist, on the ad would be a reference girl, what they called a reference girl. So, if you're a bit unsure if this was legit or not, you would call up that number, and you would, you'd talk to a woman on the phone or via email or whatever, who would be like, oh yeah, it's all legit, it's fine, I did it, it was great. Of course, these reference girls were paid actors, getting paid up to $200 per woman they could convince to go through with this. They would then arrive on set, though literally casting couch style stuff, and then they would be coerced into having sex on camera. Though sexually assaulted would probably be a better way of putting it. They would be told it's only for 30 minutes, and of course if they tried to stop or back out, they would be physically restrained into continuing to do it. And then they were told, oh yeah, we are filming this, but it's going to be shipped on DVDs and to private buyers and out of the country. And of course it was immediately uploaded to the entire internet, where everybody in the story just fucking sucks. And then of course the little cherry on top is that only half the women who actually went through with all of this were paid for it. Then, here's another cherry on top, is that the family and friends of a lot of these women would be sent links to the videos. This resulted in many women being disowned from their families, being getting fired, losing jobs, losing educational opportunities, losing everything. One woman was even murdered for it. Michael Pratt was the founder of this website, having moved to America specifically to make this kind of content.
The man at the center of one of San Diego's most notorious sex trafficking cases is now on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. Michael Pratt has been on the run for 3 years, and the FBI says Pratt operated a San Diego-based porn website called Girls Do Porn. He's accused of recruiting hundreds of young women and underage girls to engage in commercial sex acts by force, fraud, and coercion.
Michael Pratt and the other operators were charged with sex trafficking among other crimes, especially because some of the performers were underage. And in 2019, it turned out he had fled America. He was on the run for 3 years before he was captured in Madrid, Spain of all places. He was checking into a hotel under one of his known fake names, and he has since been brought back to America. And finally, let me tell you about some of the guys who were on this list last time. I covered this back in 2020, but have since been removed. Some have been apprehended, others it's pretty likely they're dead. Jason Derek Brown, he murdered the guard of an armored car in Phoenix, Arizona back in 2004. After 19 years on the list, he was taken off as he no longer met the criteria. It's believed he no longer poses a threat to the public, and publicizing his case never led to an arrest. Eugene Palmer, who in New York murdered his daughter-in-law back in 2012, the very same. His daughter-in-law, Tammy, lived with her husband, Eugene's son John, on property that Eugene owned. However, when Tammy and John stopped getting on so well, they separated. Tammy filed a restraining order against her husband. Eugene did not like that, and he especially didn't like that when she said she was going to divorce John. She said she was going to sue for the land that she was living on. Now, obviously it wasn't John's land, it was his dad's, Eugene's land, but I guess she just kind of felt, entitled to it. Regardless, Eugene saw a shotgun as his only way out, though of course to be used on her. After she walked her 2 kids down the road to the school bus, one morning as she was walking back home, Eugene was waiting for her with an iron. She soon lay dead on a country road just off the Hudson River, and Eugene was nowhere to be found. That was 11 years ago, and if still alive, he would be 84 years of age today. He was removed from the list in 2023. Robert William Fisher, after blowing up the Arizonan house, which contained his wife and 2 children, and then went on to run, he also has been removed from the list. What he did after murdering his family back in 2001 is unknown. The car he was known to have left in was found near Tonto National Forest, about 100 miles from where he and his family had been living. His car was found near an extensive cave system. So it's, many people think he disappeared, he went into hiding in those caves, or went into those caves and killed himself or something, or he just disappeared somewhere in a descent style. Nothing was found though, and there's been plenty of alleged sightings of him elsewhere. Yasser Abdul Said, who in Irving, Texas, 2008, murdered his 2 daughters because they were dating non-Muslims, he has been arrested. Woohoo! He murdered his daughters in his taxi cab, shot them both dead, and then went on the run for over a decade. In 2017, a maintenance man at an apartment complex was maintaining the apartment complex. When he saw Yasser Abdul Said's son, Islam, he saw Islam walk into his apartment with a guy who looked very much like Yasser Abdul Said, and he was like, your dad is on the FBI's most wanted list, and that looks like that very same man. He went to the police. They showed him a picture. He was like, yes, sir, that's Yasser. It turned out that Yasser's son and his brother had been hiding him for 12 years. The FBI began surveilling them. Once Islam's apartment was believed to be empty, they busted down the door, thinking Yasser may be hiding inside. They nearly got to him, but he jumped the balcony and fled. Continuing surveillance of Islam and Yasser's brother, they eventually captured him. In 2022, he was sentenced to life in prison with no parole. His son and brother got 10 years and 12 years respectively for helping to hide him. Santiago Villalba Medeiros, a gang member from Tacoma, Washington, who was responsible for killing 20-year-old Camille Love and wounding her brother, 19-year-old Josh Love, he too has been captured. In 2010, himself and a few of his gang goons were out looking for rival gang members. Instead, they happened across Camille and Josh driving in the street. Josh just so happened to be wearing the color red, which was the same color that the gang wore, the gang they were looking for. So, as you would, they opened up on him. Get glasses. About a month later, he murdered another guy who he believed owed his gang money. Now, I think it probably goes without saying that nobody he murdered, was involved with any gang shit at all. So it's like, fucking well done, dickhead. Medeiros was captured in June 2020 on his 29th birthday. Hope it was a good one. This was in Mexico City, and he was extradited back to America. And finally, Rafael Caro Quintero. He was the leader of the Guadalajara cartel. Murdered a few folks, shocker. And he was wanted, and the reward? $20 million. Which, again, it's a lot of money, but, again, give him up. You're not going to spend a penny. You're not going to spend a penny of that, right? Well, the person who actually should be getting that 20 mil, it's a dog. They sniffed him. He was hiding in a bush, and the dog sniffed him out. Just caught randomly. Fair play to the dog. As of the last update, he is currently pending extradition back to the United States. And yeah, there you have it. That is everybody who is currently on the FBI's 10 most wanted, what they did to get there, and along with some changes since last time. Some batshit shit right there. I'm sure, in the future I'll probably do another update when there's been some new blood, on the list. So expect a future chapter on that chapter about that. And as I said last time, if any of the fugitives who are currently on the run are watching this old video, giving this video a go, just hell yeah. And just grind it in your gears a little bit. Turn yourself in, maybe. Go on, give it a think. Thank you so much for watching. It really means so much to me, as always. I really appreciate it. Here, listen. Next video will be up in a couple of days. So look forward to that. Please check out the Patreon for $2 a month to get early access videos, bonus videos, Instagram, Twitter, the That Chapter podcast. But until I see you again, I'll be here, right here, as I usually am. And you just take care of yourselves and each other. Because I love you. Mike out.